the idea of being an artist not being some free vacation that you get to be on. That being an artist meant working 3 times as hard as everybody else. I think that was the methodology I had in my brain, the ideology of what being an artist meant. And maybe it was easier for me to see that because I had my own business. I had an upholstery shop, and you know, most of the people I knew worked for somebody else. So to be self-employed at 21 is a little bit strange. You know, you're looking at life in a very different way, and you're sort of forced to care about things that your friends don't care about. So when I was able to play music for a week, not work on furniture and work just on music, that was a humongous blessing to me. And I took that as, well, I'm not going to just blow this off like this is a free, like I won a lottery ticket. If I get to play a show, if I get to make a 45 or actually make an album, I really want this to be where I've pushed myself to the absolute limits of what I'm capable of doing and see what comes out of that. At least then, if it doesn't work, okay, it doesn't work. But at least I would go back in the future and say, oh, I put a lot into that at that moment in time to try my best at it, and would feel good about that. I pushed myself rather than, we hung out for a few days and everyone got high and got drunk and we had a blast, but whatever. That's an embarrassing part of my life. I don't want to talk about it. That's easy to do. Anybody can do that. I started my own business when I was 21. And I thought I was just going to do that for the rest of my life. And I was hoping that I would be able to play in a band on weekends when I had free time. And maybe one day make a record. Even when we got our first album out and we started touring, I still thought, well, this is a fluke because nobody's going to like the songs that I'm writing or what I'm doing. There's no way that's going to connect with anybody more than like 50 people in this town or something like that. And it just kept going and going and going that way. And it's very strange because it's like Murphy's Law. I think if I wanted to achieve certain things, they wouldn't have happened. It's because I didn't care about it. I didn't care about money. I didn't care about fame. I didn't care about any of those things. And I think those things get thrown at you when you don't care. When I'm recording, I don't like to tell the musicians what we're doing, And I also don't even tell myself what we're doing if I can help it. It's good to just have everyone show up and let's make something happen. If you map everything out, you cause yourself to think of failure and think of not living up to what your preconception was at the beginning, and it takes away the energy of freshness and spontaneity and all those great things. So I try not to plan too far ahead of time, especially when it comes to working with another artist, because that's always an honor and a responsibility too. If you were saying you're going to work with Wanda Jackson, that's a big responsibility. I take it very seriously, and it's not just something to do. I just kind of let the songs tell me what to do, and I don't try to force them into any situation. I like to set up the environment of how we record. That's important to me, to set up all those boxes. But as far as what actually music is coming out, I have no preconceived notions of what it's going to be. And yeah, by the end of the time, we have all these things that I never would have thought we would have a humoresque, or never would have thought we would have over and over, a song I'd worked on for years that finally all of a sudden worked out. These are. This makes an album of every song's a different personality, which I think a lot of people probably don't like. I think a lot of people, maybe on paper they would say, oh no, I like variance in it. But I think, a lot of people say they actually kind of like a good theme and a mood.
It's easy to redo it and recreate something. That's not a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
But to put your own style and twist on and make it new and fresh like it was recorded this week, that is the goal I have. To not emulate something from the past, but to make something sound like it was recorded this week. And if you can trick people into understanding that is also the blues, but it feels fresh and right now and not something recreated, then getting somewhere.
A real difference between analog and digital, which I think that is sort of, you can get into some real psychological thoughts about how it affects you, but imagine analog as this. Analog is a pencil on a piece of paper, and the pencil is dragging and drawing, and it's never lifted. And digital is a pencil making many, many dots.
Right.
And there's always divisions between them. No matter how high the sample rate is or whatever, there's always going to be divisions in between those samples.
Right.
So whether that affects you subconsciously or not, or the sound of the overall soul of it, who knows? But it does make a point that on tape or on a vinyl, that needle or that magnetic tape is a pencil on a piece of paper that's never lifted off.
Yeah.
And I think whatever inherent things are in, like there's tape wobble, you know, and the tape, the machine itself, the groove is slight, you know, variations in it, and those little movements, they change the tempo of the song, the pitch of the song, and they're not very audible, but they're in there. When you can listen to an old record and a brand new Pro Tools recording, you can tell the difference between something that sounds really soulful, sounds really magical, like it was. They caught some magic at that moment because of those slight variations in movement. There was a moment when I was an apprentice upholsterer.
How old were you at the time?
I was about 15, I think, 15 or 16, and it was a mid-century modern couch, sort of like a Vladimir Kagan piece, I think. I know I had pink fabric with silver threads in it, and it was temped in the back. It was 3 staples in the back, just to keep it in place while the upholsterer was working on the front of it. And I just kept staring at this over and over again. I was cleaning up, sweeping up, and then I went working on it, and I just kept staring at it. That's the minimum amount of staples to hold that piece of fabric down. That's, now we can call that upholstered. You know, what would be the minimum? You couldn't do it with 2. You couldn't do it on the ends. The middle would be,
right.
You know, I just thought in my brain, this is the middle. A table can only, it can have 3 legs and still stand, but 2, it'll fall. So that sort of image has been burned into my brain. I think about that probably once a week, that image of those 3 staples, and it's affected everything. I forced myself to do anything that I create, artistically and music-wise, whatever it is, I force it through the funnel of that idea, you know, and I have 3 lines or 3 concepts in a song, or I wrap it around storytelling, melody, and rhythm. The White Stripes, the whole band was based on the number 3. I rented an apartment where I had the same equipment I had when I was 15, the same TAC 4-track Tascam mixer, and I became the engineer again. And it was just me in there by myself, and a lot of these bizarre muscle memory things would come out. I would be pressing record and pause at the same time, the 2 buttons, and tweaking a level on the needle, and it was sort of, wow, I haven't done that move in 25 years. And I'm just, you know, knee-jerk knew how to do that still. It really solidified my belief in muscle memory, you know, which comes along with when you're in your bedroom recording as a teenager. If you've been that person like I was, that you try so hard to get these sounds, and you don't have the right equipment, you don't have the right microphones, and you're trying to learn, and you're trying your best. And I was back in that spot again, which was very nice to be. It really was a great genesis for all the songs that come out on this album. Your dream scenario when you're younger is like, God, if I just had a Stratocaster, this would sound so much better. If I just had this mic, it would sound so much better. But as I learned again, what I was doing was those cheap microphones, the cheap equipment I had was very important to getting the sound of the soulfulness of what you're trying to put down. And it doesn't matter about the microphone. You know, an SM58 can be just as powerful as a U47, the supposed greatest mic ever made. You can do incredible things with that stuff, but you have to really know why you're doing it. And now you don't even really need to know what you're doing. You need to know why you're doing it. You can be very bad at twiddling the knobs and the faders and all that, but if you know why you're doing it, your attitude is a very much large part of the game. You know, when I was younger, I took some classes in high school, and I started talking about stories, or breaking down stories in the English class or something, in literature. Like, well, there's a protagonist and there's an antagonist. When I remember I first heard a teacher said that, I'm like, what do you mean there's a protagonist and an antagonist? I didn't realize that. What do you mean a story has to have a protagonist and an antagonist? I'm like, I always kind of thought there was hundreds of different kinds of stories. But in essence, really there isn't. You know, there's just about struggle. If you don't have a problem, there is no story. Every story has to have a problem, and that really opened my eyes, you know, and that goes on to songwriting from there, poetry and the way you express things, that there has to be a struggle. I take it all the way to stage performing too. You know, I make struggles for myself. I purposely play guitars that are out of tune, that things are too far away from me on stage that I can't reach. I do that all the time because I want to create struggle. I want anyone in the crowd to witness not everything going easy for me. People handing me beautiful in-tune guitars and everything's nice and the lighting's perfect.
it's too easy, you know, it's too easy, and there's no struggle there and no story. So I'd rather see them watch me overcome some problem. People always say, "Oh no, your guitar went out, or your guitar became unplugged or something. There was a technical problem." And that's great. That's a great thing. I don't know why. Don't be worried about that. I wish we had 10 more of those during the show. You know.
You let the music tell you what to do. You don't tell the music what to do. It's not an ego trip. You're not in control. You sit there and you set up a scenario, and the music tells you what your actions should be, especially when you're helping other people. Producers are not supposed to just tell people what to do. You're supposed to bring out the best in them. And if you can't bring out anything in them, there's nothing you can add to it, then you shouldn't take the job. You know, it should be about what you can add to it.